today we turn our attention to the 2027 politics in Nigeria, analysing defections and political rhetoric. Now, across the country, we're seeing governors, lawmakers and party leaders switch allegiances ahead of the next general elections. While these moves dominate headlines, they also have a very real impact on everyday Nigerians. Communities are left asking whether their votes and voices truly matter, while ordinary citizens watch as promises on jobs, healthcare and education hang in the balance. Political rhetoric is intensifying with bold statements, manifestos and speeches shaping public perception. Yet, behind the grandstanding, there are real people whose lives are affected by these shifts. Families, students and workers who rely on government policies for their daily survival. Now, to help us make sense of these trends, we are joined by Honourable Cletus Obun. Is it Clement or Cletus? Cletus Obun, former lawmaker, APC Chieftain, academic and political affairs analyst. He'll break down the reasons behind these defections, the power of political messaging, and what Nigerians can realistically expect as we approach 2027. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for joining us. Good morning.
Thanks for having me once again.
Thank you for joining us. All right, we've seen a number of defections from one political party to the other of recent, and ahead of the 2027 elections, a lot of Nigerians will ask, these defections are getting too much and almost becoming a pre-election ritual. So they would ask, is this political flexibility or opportunism?
Well, let me say that Nigerians should be ready for more of this. It is both. For some, it is opportunism. For others, it is a flexibility and evolution, positive evolution of our political lives. But nobody should be deluded into believing that defections equal to electoral victory. Because where there is no opposition, there will be an implosion. Because the tendencies that are coming together are a conglomeration and a concentration of deep political differences and tendencies that have nothing to do with each other except for political expediency. That does not make for political cohesion and ascendancy in political and democratic principles. So it is not enough to see that people are just moving for moving's sake because they want to win the next election. When you have that as a basis and as a motive for political action, what you are going to get is more hot air than substance. There will be nothing democratically to benefit from as a people. So for me, it is not yet uhuru for democracy. On the contrary, it is part of the devolution, part of the evolution, part of the stabilizing process for an emerging democracy like ours. We're just 65 years, and everybody is thinking that we have been here for 600 years. And I keep insisting, even the best of democracies that we have today, where is democracy in China? Is democracy, do the Chinese pretend that they are doing democracy? Are they not competing? So what is best for you is best administered. Max Weber. For all forms of government, let the fools contest. What is best administered is best. Bring out what is best for you. We ran a garrison state before the whites came here with what you are calling democracy. Even our age-grade system. Even in our Ekpe society, Obasanjo, Shango, Ogunabali, you have that. All of them are caste systems that produce leadership. Then it's deliberate. But the situation in which all comers now join it and then everybody says, I'm a leader after I too went to school. Is everybody that went to school that can be a leader? We've seen people managing and mismanaging schools. Sometimes you get professors running universities and running them aground. You get professors running ministries of education and then they are running the place down. We've seen that happen recently. There are most times when professors are ministers or commissioners because they don't seem to understand. For them, God has liberated and elevated them beyond their salary, and therefore their colleagues who are living there are being punished. So they don't care about what happens there anymore. So it is not a guarantee that going to school is enough. It is a product and potential and the practical exhibition of what you have studied that brings us the results that we need. So for me, the defections, great APC may be rejoicing, we may be rejoicing that we're having them, but I can tell you that is getting ready for an implosion. They should be ready for an implosion or prevent it. The reason is simple. That those who have been sitting in APC from origin now feel that these people are coming to challenge them. So there are going to be shifts and pushes and shoves around the place for political space and relevance.
But then what does that say about our democracy and the politicians as well, especially when politicians condemn the party and before you know it, they become flag bearers of those parties?
That is where opportunism comes in. I told you there's both opportunism and political expediency. For instance, without any push, you could see the Enugu state governor was doing well. But when he now realizes that his people will benefit more by him joining forces with the progressive, there are some progressives who were brought into the conservative fold and having identified their own kith and kin and their own comrades on the other side, they moved to join. That is genuine democratic realignment. But there are those who believe that if I don't join here, they will take me out. So let me get there so I can win and do my second term or be relevant and become minister. So those type of opportunistic characters, they are like opportunistic infections when there is a major infection. When the democracy, look at, for instance, a patient of cancer or HIV will be susceptible to catarrh, rashes. Every injury he has exacerbates because the immune system has already been depreciated. So you have what you call, the medics will call opportunistic infections. So also it is democratically speaking, that when the political system allows for people to just migrate and move around uncontrolled, people take advantage of it and imagine that their political survival depends on it. So they become their own kind of political opportunists who decide that the system now can accommodate me in one place or the other. So they are not going there to add value to anybody, not even to themselves. The only value they can add themselves is that I did a second term, 8 years as governor, I did 8 years as senator. So they keep jumping fences, jumping to the window, jumping to the ceiling to come to the mainstream when you know that they have no value to add. You can see in some states, you have senators, watch the Nigerian Senate, watch the Nigerian House of Reps, watch the Houses of Assembly. They only need that ticket, that ID card to get what they want, never because they have any contribution to make. In fact, one of a certain professor who was a minority leader in the Senate, in the last Senate, the 9th Senate, I went to see him on a Saturday, and he was in his office. And when I asked, Prof, what are you doing in the office? He said, let me tell you, we don't sit on Fridays, Mondays and Fridays. Now I'm here even on a Saturday, not even a Monday or Friday. If you move around this National Assembly and see anybody who is a Federal House member or a senator coming here on those non-working days, go and check their background, they are teachers. They are used to their research and reading. There is no way you can be a parliamentarian and be idle for one moment. So much to do for the country, so much to do for your own self-development, so much for your community. The job of a parliamentarian is not to go and give motorcycles and build bridges. It's not part of your work. It's to make it easy for the executive to produce and give results to the electorate, to check them when they are going into excesses. You can't have an NNPC producing no liter of oil, and every big man's child wants to go and work in an NNPC that produces no liter of fuel for more than 30 years. And people are Nupeng and Pengasen pretend that they are going on strike because Dangote wants to do what he wants with his refineries. So are you sincere to yourself as Pengasen? Your own members are working in NNPC. NNPC is producing nothing with Nigerian people's money. They give account to nobody in Nigeria, and you're not going on strike against NNPC, against your colleagues. That what are you working when we cannot get fuel? Why is it Dangote that is going to be bringing us fuel when we have NNPC?
All right.
So all this put together brings you to the issue of what? The political alignment as development-driven or as personal-driven. So when it is personal-driven, people are not doing it for the common good, but for their own personal ego and to further their own political nests.
Now, Honourable, when we look at these defections, now some critics say that the problem is not the movement itself, but how loosely the law allows it. And then looking at, the Constitution, it only permits defection when the party is in crisis, when there is, a huge issue that all of them cannot come together to put their house in order. Now, do you think it is time for us to tighten the legal framework around defection so that we can be able to have, strong oppositions at the end of the day that would compete with the present-day government?
Now, in the history of political evolution, it is not the duty of constitutions to restrain people. You can't in one hand, one breath, and say there's freedom of association and turn around to say people should not associate. It's a contradiction. So there are no perfect laws anywhere. It is the self-discipline of individuals and of society. What is your orientation towards movement? I won my election as PDP on the 9th of January 1999. We were sworn in on the 3rd of June 1999. By 2000 May, I joined a party that didn't exist, NDP, National Democratic Party. I was suspended for the rest of the tenure without salaries and allowances till today, on the instructions of the then governor. Now, in spite of that suspension and no salary and no allowances for more than 2 years, I said no governor in Cross River has paid me back that money. The reason is that being in opposition, giving me that money is like funding opposition. That did not bring me to PDP. Yeah. And I was so certain. Google me and see on major Nigerian newspapers, I've held press conferences predicting the fall of PDP. That PDP was built to collapse in a monumental manner. I said so as far back as 2001. I said so again in 2008 when we went to court and annulled the governorship election in Cross River. We did that twice as opposition. You might call it a ragtag opposition that nearly did not exist. But we were able to organize ourselves, and consistently by 2025 when we won the national election, we were so sure that we were getting there. I was the head of that opposition. I never left and returned to anywhere. In spite of, I was made commissioner twice, I rejected it. I was offered all kinds of things to make me come. I never did, but we were constantly in court. In fact, the 2011 election, we concluded in 2015 in the Supreme Court. I had the most litigations in Cross River State political history, either taking my candidates or going myself as party. Because sometimes the candidates are paid not to proceed in court, but the law allows the party or the candidate or both to take matters to court. So we are always doing that, testing and ensuring that we stretch democracy. Today I'm happy that that is happening. Now, why am I bringing this story? Not for self-aggrandizement, not to give myself some credit, but to say to you that there are still people in this country who are consistent. Where did Ashwaju Tinubu ever go to after AD? He rather joined forces with smaller parties. AD joined ACD, Advanced Congress of Democrats. He won as AD. By April 2006, on his way out, when Fashola took over from him, he came to join forces with Alexis Anelo, who was SDP National Secretary, but formed and became he came together. And what did we do? AD and ACD joined and formed what they call AC, Action Congress. By December 23rd, we added the N to make Action Congress of Nigeria, ACN. And we moved from there. Then PDP fallout, ABGA by Rochas Okorocha, then PPA, Ojuz Okalu, who produced the PPA governor in Imo State, and the man later defected back to PDP. All those opponents came. It was never about PDP. PDP was the behemoth, an almost unassailable giant. But it was a giant on clay feet because we were so sure that the weaknesses were obvious. And this is the banana peel that I'm warning my party APC to be aware of, not to overjubilate, because when you bring in these strange bedfellows, this conquer mixture of strange bedfellows, what you should expect in the nearest future, especially as elections are coming, congresses are coming, they will want to push in those who are governors, like Lamido will say. You can't say a former governor does not have supporters. You can't come to my local government and try to undermine me today Whoever you are in Nigeria, you cannot. I have never lost councillorship being in opposition. I never, because that's where the test of popularity is. So you don't walk in now and say you are governor and try to undermine those who have been sitting. This is what the legacy party members are shouting all over the country. And they are being undermined. The very energy they use to push out the PDP is the energy they will use. They won't leave the party because there's nowhere to go to. We are founding members. We are foundation members. So nobody is going to leave the party. So nobody should delude you that you push out. It's when you get up that somebody sits on your chair. Nobody is getting up from the legacy members. Nobody is going to get up. So what you are going to find is that those who are coming in should be ready to share offices from the ward executives to the zone, local government, to the zones, to the central district, to the state, to the 6 geopolitical zonal structure, to the national convention. They should be ready to share those positions in a manner that is inclusion of those who have sat there. If that does not happen, this very celebration will turn to a mourning mood for us, and I don't think that is what APC will. But let Ashwaju be ready to stamp his foot the way he did with us in opposition. Now being in government, let us celebrate this coming in of people, but rather look at the way to factor in every of the tendencies that have been there. Chibisa Konde is sitting down in the convenience of his house and believing that he has won election and therefore he has surrendered. He has not. He shouldn't. This is the time the real work is to fix Nigeria and make it a true democracy in which there is an inclusion and in which there is even a table kept for the opposition. Right. We should consciously do so as a party. APC should keep a table for the opposition because the ingredient, the very live wire of every democracy is the opposition.
All right, Honourable, you just spoke about allegiance, the strength of allegiance in the past, and it's different now with the way the politicians are defecting from one party to the other. It is, we cannot deny that there have been defections in the past as well. It is not new to politics. But how can voters trust politicians? And in a way, is Nigeria's party system broken beyond repair, or can internal democracy still be revived?
Well, I will take it from the last point. The lack of internal democracy is the beginning of the fall of any political party. Intra-party crisis, I maintain, is more difficult to manage than inter-party crisis. The reason is because those you are dealing with inside the party know you well and know where you can cut your corners. When you get up, every signal you give, they can absorb it. Inter-party crisis is throwing stones at the other house. You can afford to avoid it. But internally, if you allow people to get so disgruntled and so encouraged and so disoriented to the point where they feel that they have been made irrelevant, they make themselves relevant by nuisance. So if you don't want their value, they'll give you their nuisance value. So you need to. I make this warning sternly because I can see signals coming up. It has happened in the past. When we won election in 2015, many people dropped in 2016. And when they came into the party to join the APC, they came in as masters and lords. And my question was simple. You were defeated and deflated. A defeated army does not come with demands. It comes with humility. So if you defected to APC, you are not a champion. So if you were a governor and you think you are so strong, stay there and win the election against us, since you are the governor in your state. But as long as you have come in here, it's a sign of surrender. You don't surrender and come in with your chest open. You should come with your tail between your legs and deal with humility and bite the humble pie. Rather than coming in here, we are biting bullets to put the structures here. And then you turn around and come in here to want to behave as if you are one giant, one King Kong that wants to that have conquered. You are not a conquistador. We are the conquistadors. We are the conquerors. So you come to join us, join so with humility. Don't bring conditions, bring your appeals. Now, the third thing is that when you talk about the issue of defections, take it back to the 18th century, to the 17th century in American democracy. It took the Democrats 100 years in America to win their first presidential seat in 1865. And in doing so at that point, out of the 38 states, 30 states belong to the Republicans. Only 8 states belong to the Democrats. Those 8 states defeated the 15 states because they were defections. In 2015, don't forget, almost everybody was defecting to APC, to PDP. So defection itself could even be a signal of collapse, unless it is properly managed. So let Nigerians not be panicking. I am not one of those who is panicking. I'm in APC. But I can tell you that I am telling my members, especially in my state, luckily my governor is himself a true-bred Democrat. I say this not because I want to placate him. He knows that I won't. But I can tell you that my governor, like a few others that I can see in some states, look at people like Zulu in Borno State, look at people like Memalabuni in Yobe State. They came from the foundations of this party. So they know what it means to annoy members, especially foundation members, who think that they have sacrificed so much with bare hands, and now that it is time to share the benefits of that, even by sheer political patronage, it is non-existent. And it is shallowly given with grudges, while those who are just coming in are being taken on shoulders and riding high. That is one of the sore areas. That is one of the open wounds of APC, the reward system, constantly declining, and original and foundation members on every day being undermined. That is dangerous. And I'm giving this warning to APC leadership, especially the new chairman of the of APC. We need to work at it. I know what I'm hearing on the background. I know what people are saying. Even people you think are satisfied. Some of them are senators in the National Assembly who are foundation members. They are very, very angry. Some of them are even commissioners in states. Some of them can't even produce a councillor, can't even nominate a councillor for their ward. They are angry about this. That level of not that they want anything. Just all politics in the world is about recognition. Is Trump looking to be president of America to prove what? To get money? He can fund America. Trump can fund America. Dangote can fund Nigeria. The richest man in Africa, he has a budget. His income is more than Nigeria's income. So he can fund Nigeria household to household. But is he contesting elections? No. He's supporting politicians because that is where the aggregation and the entire livelihood of humanity depends. Politics. So it is recognition. Let us have a meeting. This is what we are trying to do. We want to buy a newspaper today. Should we buy 2 or 3 newspapers? Let that be a collective job. You may take the final decision, but that you are consulted gives you a sense of belonging, identity, and recognition. Once that happens, there is less friction. But the situation where you look at everybody and say, see finish, what can you do? People will bring their user value to bear. And I think that this is where we are. That the defection may not be a signal of conquest. It may itself be a symptom of a crisis that is deeper than we think.
All right, Honourable Cletus, let's turn to the tone of politics as 2027 approaches. Now, beyond defections, the rhetorics, which is the language used by politicians, is becoming sharper and more emotional. How would you describe the political rhetorics we're hearing so far? Is it more issue-driven or still centered around personalities and power?
Majority of what you find now, I don't find it anymore. Before today, our political class were less educated. But you had better rhetoric. If you tackle me, I double you. That was Godwin Dabo versus J.S. Tucker in Middle Belt Forum. Then Mbadiwe, when the comes to become, you hear that type of rhetoric of entertainment. You hear Barkinzuo, government money in government house. Why are you disturbing me? What we now hear is, this man's wife has 1 leg. This man has leprosy in his back. That is not the rhetoric of a political class. That is not political refinement. That is a lack of intellectual urbanity, which should bring about a sublimation and attenuation of the best quality that you should produce from any polity in the 21st century. In 2025, we are still discussing. Remember Clinton. Was it Clinton or Obama? In the same time, one of the opponents, the daughter got pregnant in higher school. And in one of the debates, that matter was brought. I mistakenly warned them. I said, no, we are discussing America and not somebody's family. We are discussing America. America has more problems than what somebody's daughter did or what somebody's son did not do. So when in Nigeria we are descending into the arena, into the murky waters of politics and making it look as if it is a do or die, then we have nothing to offer. Any person who gets to that level, and that is where we would like to see the youth groups that make up more than 45%, 65% of our population, we should be able to hold them accountable and say, any person who's into that type of rhetoric should be dismissed. Fact check people who give you figures that are wrong. Fact check them and expose them for what they are. At a time when we had no technology, once a Nigerian budget is brought, then it was even military administrators that didn't want to even hold them accountable. We do the analysis and show where is the lion's share. The word lion's share is no longer there. Who takes the lion's share? Is it works? Is it education? Is it health? We now analyze it and show that education ought to take more. And then you see us back in the streets and say return education to #1 spot because we feel affected, because that's where the future of Nigeria lies. Do we still have those youth groups doing that? They are all loyal to anybody who can pay their transport to the next spot.
All right.
Are they still doing that? No. So the rhetoric presently must be directed and refined. The unacknowledged status of the world is the media. They must legislate on the conduct, give direction, and champion the cause of discourse. The intercourse between politicians and political parties within the political space must be moderated by the media. And that is why condemnation and commendation must come in good quantity at a time like this. It is not a time to placate and pat on the back anybody who comes with dirty rhetoric that is divisive, clannish, religious, and becoming toxic to the system. Those type of politicians should be exposed for who they are. They should be called out. What do you have to offer? You are saying electricity is not working. What will you do differently to give us electricity? Don't tell us there's a problem. We know there's a problem. Every cyclist you see, every keke rider in Abuja knows the problem of Nigeria. It is those who will fix that problem that we are looking for, not those who will come and sing the problem and repeat it to us. Don't you know that we are finding it difficult to pay school fees for children? Don't you know that a mudu of gari or a mudu of rice or beans is expensive? Don't you know that transport from here to Makurdi or to Zaria or to Kaduna is expensive? Don't you know that we have insecurity? We know that. What different are you going to do? What different are you going to do beyond what APC or Tinubu is doing? That is the kind of conversation, that's the kind of rhetoric we want to know. Why are we not bringing in mercenaries? Why is it so easy that the Chinese will collaborate with Nigeria and their citizens are rescued within hours? How is it that somebody in Gwari Forest, an American, and the American said, I'll collaborate with you, and within 24 hours they rescue the man? Why can't we use the same method? How can we say that war in the desert, as it happened in Iraq in 1991, how many days did it take America to take out Saddam Hussein? How come that in our own Sahel savannah, it is so difficult? We suddenly are producing a forest in the savannah. What geography are we conjuring? What kind of voodoo geography is that? That is a forest called Sambisa? I come from the last forest on the African continent, the Buki forest. I don't see any forest as I fly across Nigeria. I see no forest anywhere. As I fly across Africa, I was just coming from East Africa last week. I find no forest anywhere. It's parchment of land and cultivated forest, secondary forest for that matter. But we have a forest that has been there since Adamu was created, in which an iroko tree, it can be up to 1,000 meters wide. Mahogany trees and others. As you fly up, you can't see anything down. Nobody has farmed there. Nobody can even access the forest. We still have it in my place. So where is the forest I talk about that people are carrying 200 motorbikes? Are they flies? Even flies can be seen by microscopes. How come we're not doing that? There must be some change in attitude to this security network. How come Americans can take out that Iranian commander in a convoy of vehicles? What technology is that we cannot afford? How much is it? I've checked the price of drones. How much is it that we can't pay for? I remember in 1983, when Buhari took over government as a military man, he said to Nigerians, we don't have any other country that do not check out and do not check out. What did he say? He said, I remember people like Aton Zeribas at that time bringing us $75,000 to contribute to the federal coffers as part of their patriotic contribution to Nigeria to survive. Nigerians are ready to do that if they find the leadership that calls them to action. Nigerians have always done that. And I have found no patriots on the African continent or in anywhere in the black world more than Nigerians.
All right. Now, Honourable Obun, speaking of the future of a political culture in Nigeria, at this point, how can young politicians and movements disrupt the defect and survive culture? And, how can it be costly to defect politically in Nigeria?
No, the problem, I have told you, defection is not the issue here. Defection, I have told you, can be positive and negative, both to the recipient of the defector and to the defector himself.
So on a broader perspective, right here now in Nigeria with the political scene, do you think that it is on a positive side or a negative side, these defections, and how can it be managed?
This is the point I have made before now, that it is both positive and negative. Positive to those who think that they can add value to their communities, because all that we are dealing with is about how you bring the greater good for the greater majority of Nigerians, especially the rural Nigerians who have no access to power or to the corridors of power. This is what a compassionate leadership comprises of. That is the composition of a leadership. So when you are now defecting because you want to win an election, it is negative. But if you are defecting because you think that you can synergize with others from across the country at the center in order to bring the development to your people, that is positive. So you cannot just put a blanket tar and say defection is bad or defection is good because you are the one receiving people. Winning election for election's sake, I will not subscribe to it. I will not be part of just winning election for winning's sake. Winning of election should translate to the greater good for the greater majority of Nigerians. Once it is not so, I will not be part of it. That is not part of why I'm in politics. I can tell you now, the day I have a road constructed to my village, I'll retire to a university, a public university, and teach free. I won't collect salary. Mark my word. I've given my bond to Nigeria. Once I have the only thing that's putting me here is because I watch, if I talk, tears will come out of my eyes. I've watched women die of pregnancy on top of motorbikes because there is no vehicle to convey them. There is no hospital. No medical doctor has visited my village in my lifetime. I'm 60. My father died at 101. No medical doctor has been to my village except those who come as visitors to visit me or to visit it. But to say that we're coming for medical outreach, my age grade built a health center. The government have taken it over. The only highest officer we have there is a community health officer. That is my community. Now imagine those who don't have people as exposed as myself, what they can do. I have communities in my place. We have 12 communities in my community. None of them enjoys this. We don't have mobile network in my area. 70% of my local government don't have mobile network. Buki local government. 70% of it doesn't have mobile network. In 2025, this is October. 70% of my local government don't have. Now translate that to the rest of most of the local governments. In fact, if you go to the Minister of Trade and Industry, my very good friend, John Wino, in his community, if you enter there, what you have is Orange Cameroon. You have more Cameroon network there than Nigeria. Same for some of the Boki communities like Danere, like Bashu, like Okwango Okwa in Eastern Boki. Most of those people, they have more of Cameroon network than Nigeria network. So what do you translate that to? And we have senators from this area. We have federal house members from this area. We have state house of assembly members. We have councillors and local government chairmen from those areas. So if it doesn't translate to even the modern facilities of life, of easy living, so that you can even call for help to policemen. We don't have a police station. The nearest police station is over 20 kilometers away from me. The nearest hospital is more than 30 kilometers from my community. So women are carried, a young man riding a motorcycle gets down, gets a broken, fractured bone. Before he gets to the hospital, he bleeds to death. It has happened in my place. It happened this year, February this year. So all the time, you are now there are more communities like that, translate them. So if you are winning of an election does not translate to bringing that to me. If I don't have a road between Obuduk and the cattle ranch, where ECOWAS held its meeting under Jonathan, either in 2012 or 2013, the road to that place now is practically impassable. That road was constructed by Shehu Shagari in the 1980s. Just to fix it, we have NDDC. We have what do you call it? We have Southeast Development Commission, which is barely no funding to even take off. You have Federal Ministry of Intervention Agencies. You have the, what do you call them, the road, this emergency program that the federal government fixes. They're not fixing that road. So you now have to sit back here every day weeping and crying, and then people can't even as much as move a motion to say, why is there this road not fixed? E2, Uyo Road, where we have the Senate President, where you have the governor. In fact, it passes through the local government and the senators' community. That road is a federal road. It has not been fixed for more than, since the last attempt that was made was in 2001 to fix it. Today, people have to go through the river at the risk of pirates kidnapping them.
But then how do we make sure that our priorities are straight, knowing that this is what you're here for, what you need to do, and understanding that you are vying for office for a particular reason?
Now, let me ask you, why will a senator not synergize with a minister to say this is a priority? Why will a minister not synergize with his senator to say this is what we need to do? Mr. President, if we can't do this in my area, we cannot campaign. Since campaign is your major priority, for us, the only campaign we can have is to fix this road. If each year you do that for one project, major project, I've given you 2 roads in Cross River, Calabar Itu Road and Ikom Obudu Road. If you fix those 2 for Cross River, your campaign is as good as done. You don't need to say any more thing. When Buhari came in and did the Ikom bridge, did the second bridge in Ikom, as he was doing the one in Onitsha, he was doing the one in Ikom, which is a border town with Cameroon, where there is Ambazonia fighting going on, and Nigeria will need to use it to police its borders. He did that quietly. Nobody has acknowledged it till today. And that corridor has been fixed. But now to go, that same road is the one that goes up to the ranch. Why they did that spur under Buhari was because they discovered that leads also to the borders with Cameroon on that Ikom Obudu Road. The right-hand side of it is all Cameroon, and then you hit the Obudu Cattle Ranch. Only recently, I know that one of the army corps did their retreat up the ranch because the governor is now fixing it back. Governor 2 has released about 18 billion to refix the ranch because it was dilapidated and almost taken over by AMCOM. He has now fixed it back, and now you can go back there. But that road is not accessible. The airstrip has been shut down for more than 7 years now. So if you fix those things, Nigerians have alternatives. What are you going to Kenya to go and do? Where are you going to South Africa to go and do? When you have your own here, where are you going to Europe to go and do? Boni Yayi, the president of Benin Republic, who came there to represent, say, if we have this type of place, what are we going abroad to go and do? So if we have all these facilities, like you said, if election is for election's sake to have a title of I'm a senator, I'm a governor, then we have no business doing politics. Let everybody go to his house and rule himself. But if it is for the common good, we must have to hold positions. These defections are a distraction intended not to give us the full benefits of our politics and of our votes. And voters and citizens must now be ready to hold people accountable and say to them, we won't vote for you. That is why, again, I say the civil society organizations must come out to this man who defected, where he was in this party, what was his value? And what do you think is coming to add here? Or is he a minor? So you come from the other party after running it down to come back here. I ask you, when you say that the constitution says it is only when parties are in crisis that people should defect, which party is not in crisis apart from APC? Show me one party you know that is not in crisis. Of the 18 that were recognized by INEC, every one of them is in tatters. Why? Struggling for space that does not exist. How can you be fighting for a broken house? Rather than looking for how to patch it or amend it, you are looking for how to break it down even more. So when you do that as political actors, why wouldn't you learn even from your own contemporary like Buhari, contemporaries like Ashwaju? Now you want to learn from people like Atiku Abubakar? Between 4 and 5 years, you change 4 or 5 political parties and oscillate like a pendulum? How can you do that?
All right, now, Honourable, if our priorities don't change and perspectives as well don't change, what do you say the future holds for politics in Nigeria?
The future is very bright. Nigeria's future is very, very bright, politically speaking. You can see even the world is beginning to respect Nigeria, even its financial institutions. Only recently you were removed from the financial action. Yes. Only recently, the World Health Organization, what do you call him? the United Nations and others give Nigeria the kind of recognition that you didn't find before. So our politics, diplomatically speaking, is there, but I would like to see the president of Nigeria bring his missions, bring out his ambassadors. We are going to our 3rd year now. There are no ambassadors. Whatever that strategy is not helping our case, especially for those of us living in the embattled Cameroonian borders. It is not good for our health. They are now using drones to supervise us, and we are not countering them. And then you now find also a Shoinka being told to go back and revalidate his this. When America should be looking for Shoinka should be looking for them at this age. What is he going to do in America? So the intention is to embarrass us. But if there's an ambassador there, he would have tapped in to say, no, we can quietly do this for this man. He's an international statesman, not a national statesman. So you cannot rubbish him by asking him to come. He's not begging to come here to America to do what at this age? He is for us a museum. And we cannot tamper with our museums, our intellectual museums.
Thank you very much, Honourable Cletus Obun, for being here and, shedding so much light on the political scene in Nigeria.
Thank you for having me, and please let Nigeria be blessed, where no man is oppressed.